VikesNow. I am Dustin Baker. We are 16 days away from the NFL draft. We keep referring it to on this show as Christmas. Thursday morning is going to feel like Christmas Eve. For the first time on their show, the show's been around for about 2 years now. We have Paul Allen from KFAN, voice of the Vikings. Paul, how are you today? 16 days out.
I'm great. Good to see all of you. And I guess after this 20 to 40 minutes, we'll chat in 2026. Yeah, once every 2 years. Obviously you're not going alphabetically, or like I would have been right at the top.
All right, so I'm taking a little flack here for not having Paul Allen on. But hey, if you're willing to come on here somewhat regularly, we'll make it a lot sooner than 2 years. We have Thor Nystrom on quite often. I don't know if you've ever had him on your show, but he's fantastic.
Yeah, a couple of Fridays ago, I had him on 9 to noon in the Friday Football Feast, KFAN, and I did so simply because I wanted to gauge for myself how authentic his adoration for J.J. McCarthy was.
Yeah.
And he came on and he just went to spilling. I mean, bucketed it back like an adulation that was second to none. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it's real. It's real. God bless you. And we'll talk again soon.
Oh yeah, we have past episodes. Josh could tell you all about it. Where that's what the show is his JJ McCarthy takes, and we're here for it because Vegas says that he's the front runner to join the Vikings, and we might get into that. Man, I'm going to guess we do here this afternoon. I'm here with Josh Fry, who is the editor at PurplePTSD.com, and Dakota Kep, who helped bring this thing together. This show with Paul Allen. So let's get things started. Dakota, you get first dibs at Paul. What's your question for him on this fine Tuesday?
Well, first and foremost, it is an absolute honor to be getting to do this with you. I was the one that tweeted out thanking you on the VikesNow Twitter, so just thank you again for the shout out and being here. My question, kind of just starting off on sort of kind of easing us into the current 53-man roster that we have so far this offseason. You have said on the Craig Kilborn show that you are invited to practices, so it helps you sort of inform how you do your commentary and whatnot when it comes to game day. And so I was just curious, in the time that you've been allowed to go to these practices and seeing what you've seen of the current players on the roster, is there anybody that you kind of have identified as this next season's leader? Like, is there somebody that you think is slowly being put into that position going into the 2024-2025 season?
First and foremost, well done.
Thank you.
To the Craig Kilborn podcast and listening through the gospel stories and the jokes and everything to get to that point. That very, very well done. And
thank you.
To not clarify, but the way what Dakota's saying for those watching is, the Vikings, thanks to their PR staff and Jeff Anderson, Sam Newton, John Ekstrom, Carly Bonk, Sarah Joram, so on, is the relationships that you have with them. If you're getting into football or whatever, the media relations staff, they're going to sniff out your authenticity within 10 minutes. So, and it's not like I'm from KFAN, I get to do this. It's not, I'm voice of the Viking. No, it's not like that. It's born of trust. It's born of things happening that you see that you're able to keep a secret. Okay, and the trust factor is huge. So therefore, if I'm so inclined, and I'm at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center and practice or walkthrough are taking place, I can walk in and watch it and see, the end around to JJ inside the Jefferson, that is. And I'm not giving any tells there. But all right, 3-2 to Jefferson, and he's throwing a pass to Johnny Mutt. Okay, so that helps me because I kind of know it's coming certain part of the field when I'm calling the game. So for those who take time to listen, I'm ahead of it, and I feel that makes for a better call. But there's a lot that goes into they don't invite me to do that, but I'm there. There's Paul. It's cool. Kevin says it's cool. Quasey says it's cool. Media relations signs off on it. So that's why I get to do it. It's a privilege to be able to do it because what I learn is fantastic. It's just because football practice can be boring, but there are things that you learn that you otherwise didn't know. Like, I remember this formation from 3 weeks ago, and they ran left with Madison. Okay, well now same formation. Week 3 ran left Aaron Jones. 3 weeks later, same formation. Oh, tight end went in motion. There goes Aaron Jones on a wheel route. So it's just learning things like that. the answer to your question quickly in pithy fashion would be I don't have one. And, whether it's VikesNow or it's 9 to noon or whatever, I mean, black and white wins. Gray area doesn't make anybody any money. And here's the reason why. We've had the team has had so much turnover, and this quarterback situation it's so hot. It's just hot and it's rich. And, I'm doing a radio show at US Bank Stadium for the draft party on KFAN, and I've been there. I've done a million of those, and it's not necessarily if they don't trade up for a quarterback, the place is going to go nuts. I just think the expectations are so high that they do that I'm just wondering what the reaction would be. So, to Dakota's question from like last year and segueing forward, Addison's going to be better, and he was already good. Um, their guard situation's very compelling to me. They take Ed Ingram in the second round a couple of years ago, and Ed had some problems. But for me, if you start every game and you make every practice as an offensive lineman, your season is a W. That's it. It may not be a 10 of 10. It's a win. And they won 13 games, and you didn't mess up enough to mess things up. But that's one season. I really need to get a good 2 seasons into them, specifically quarterbacks, before I can start saying you belong, you don't belong. So that eliminates a fair amount of them. Where Metellus went last year is very compelling, and what Flores can do off that, with the ones who were here, that's intriguing. I really like Theo Jackson. Theo has something to him. He's in a weird spot with Hitman and Bynum and Metellus and Ward in the draft. Those are 2 that come to mind.
Okay.
All right, Josh, you've been thinking about this for a few days now. What do you got for Paul Allen question wise?
Yeah, so obviously running game in 2023 wasn't the best in Minnesota. I think it was 7 rushing touchdowns and 3 of them came from Josh Dobbs. And obviously Dobbs isn't there anymore. Alexander Madison isn't the lead running back anymore. They bring in Aaron Jones to take over that role, presumably alongside Ty Chandler. Do you think that Jones addition is enough for the running game to at least get up to average in 2024? Or is that kind of a position that you target in the draft as well?
I like your topic because off 2022, O'Connell's first year, I don't think anybody, whether they're running Dalvin 13 times a game or 23, whether he's making one-hand grabs back left of the end zone at FedEx Field, or he's closing on that amazing screen and that comeback against Indianapolis. Dalvin is Dalvin, okay? Aaron is Aaron. Then Madison, and Ty Chandler, and we learned a lot about Ty. We know in the preseason 2022, Kevin O'Connell fell in love with Ty Chandler. I mean, he's kicking ass, but he also is not the one always tapping, being like, what about me? What about me? What about me? What about me? He gets it. He's by, not I. And that's even after last season where he's thinking about the totality of the team more so than what he's going to get after his first contract. So Aaron's a different cat, man. And when I say he's different, he plays differently. When he's healthy, it's like Green Bay last year at the end of the year and how hot they got, and they should have beaten the Niners after they just killed the counterfeit Cowboys. But it's Aaron Jones was the identity of that whole thing. Jordan Love, Packers fans get offended when I say this because they think it's Vikings announcer guy trying to start stuff. And I'm not like that. I just don't care enough about, and I'm not from here. I'm not from Minnesota, so I didn't grow up with Aunt Ethel from Wausau living next to me, arguing with her all the time. Now I want the Vikings to beat the Packers every single time because they're generally the chief rival in the division until Detroit popped up. But so this really doesn't have any trash talk to do with it. I think it took Aaron Jones 3 seconds to sign here. So, he a lot of these players and coaches know what's coming before any of us do. So he probably knew it's going to be Josh Jacobs. His agent probably knew kind of what he was going to get. Well, I mean, it was Aaron who basically was like, okay, well, I want to go there and let's make it a 1-year deal. I know the guy calling the plays is good to very good and getting a lot better fast. I know they throw 61% of the time like they did when they won 13 games. I want to be part of it. And when Aaron is healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. So I love having him. Now the running game from compare you can't go back to last year with Madison and raising Chandler and think about a speedy veteran who catches it like Jones and Dalvin Cook. I'm very excited to call Aaron Jones games. Because he's motivated, and he's motivated like Favre was in 2009. It's, there's some stick it to him that he may not say is there, but I bet you it has to be in his heart. And he wants to show the people who just let him go for what has been a Chief Division rival, you made a mistake. I just like that because he's still good. So yes, the running game will be better than it was last year. Ty Chandler's the wild card. When Ty played as much as he played, you started to see the pass protection had some problems. And it was just a problem. It just seemed to be just like sometimes didn't know where to go. It's not the first time I've ever seen that. Adrian Peterson's going to the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the best running backs in the history of the NFL. And I saw him whiff on players 25 times. He was very mechanical trying to catch the ball on screens and just swing passes, yet he might be the best ever. So God doesn't make everybody Marshall, Falk, LaDainian Tomlinson-esque, where they're shifty and they're fast and they catch and they set up screens and they pick up the blitz. So not everybody's made the same, but Aaron and Ty both have a lot of wonderful, wonderful qualities.
Paul, at the top of the show, it talked about 16 days away. We mentioned Thor Nystrom's adoration for JJ McCarthy. We talked about the draft party. If I asked you, sir, on VikesNow for a first round draft prediction, what would that look like from you?
Well, I do believe the trade up for a quarterback just makes too much sense for too many reasons. Okay. Now, this, how am I going to put this? When O'Connell and that whole group took over, all right, I'm just going to be square with you, and it had nothing to do with Kevin, had nothing to necessarily do with the previous regime. But I wasn't feeling the job anymore, and I wasn't feeling being around the facility that much anymore. There were just things that I just wasn't enjoying. I'm not a Vikings employee, like a W-2. I don't get paid to call games by them. Let's put it that way. I get paid by iHeartRadio and KFAN. But I had done it 20 years and developed like Kevin Stefanski, the Browns coach, is the best friend I've ever had in football. You got like Darrell Bevel, Scott Linehan, Todd Downing from Eden Prairie, Jets quarterback coach. I mean, there are so many people. Corey Chavis, former safety, who's on my radio show with Draft Nasty. He's elite. So I fostered a lot of friendships over the years, but I'll just leave it at this, that there just were some things that I felt it was either me or things were transpiring that I just felt like, maybe there could be another sport I wanted to call or something like that. I called a couple of wild games and enjoyed myself. So with that said, I made the decision that I don't need to be on the second floor of the facility, kicking my feet up on coaches' desks, hearing Everson and Daniil are going to go inside in a playoff game against New Orleans, A, to make sure I can keep a secret, and B, to talk about, wow, the impact of where the weakness is with New Orleans, with Warford one guard and Andrus Peat the other. So I made that decision and really stayed away from a lot of practices, was really slow rolling and in low key fashion, getting to know Kevin and Pettin and Wes Phillips and Ed Donatel, who I love, just a sweetheart of a human being, salt of the earth, and Kwesi and stuff. But I slow rolled it. And I'm like, if they want to get to know me, well, then I'm going to flip it and have them get to know me on my terms, where I don't have to be around every single second of every single thing. Well, then they started winning games the way they did, and we had that win at Buffalo, and we had that comeback against Indianapolis. I couldn't stay away. I mean, I was there in every practice. I mean, hey, Kevin, oh, what an unbelievable call on the shallow cross. Hey, 99 bottles of beer on the wall. I mean, I couldn't get away from it. So it really reinvigorated my love for the job. And it plays into the answer to your question, because I don't tap on people the way I used to tap on people. Okay. And for many years, those who listen to the Power Trip Morning Show, you would hear Vikings three-chinned announcer Paul Allen roll in And after nobody talked about Anthony Barr for 2 months, it's my turn to pick and my turn to talk. Who are they going to take, Paul? Probably Anthony Barr. What? No, and then they take Anthony Barr. Okay, so is Paul that smart, or was Paul put on the winner? Paul was put on the winner because Paul can keep secrets. Paul doesn't care enough about Twitter to go out there and splash. But there's a lot that goes into that, and both ways.
Okay.
So I decided I wanted to pull back and do it a different way, which I'm doing. So I don't have the answer from the inside.
Okay.
And I like that because it tests my discernment. It tests my roots of getting to where I want without being told. And to answer your question, it just makes too much sense to trade up. What Rick Spielman, the former general manager, has been saying publicly of late, that's a major, major, major crouton to this chef salad. I mean, when the former GM comes out and says, and I love Rick, and Rick was very good to me and very kind and very welcoming. I love Rick. Saw him at the combine, caught up with him. So this is not a shot at Rick, but, I don't think Rick would disagree with me on this. That, for him to come out and say on a CBS Sports podcast, they're going to trade up, they're going to overpay, and they're going to draft J.J. McCarthy. Well, and then he followed that up with, what other choice do they have? Okay, I didn't like that. Really, I didn't like the what other choice do they have, because I think it diminishes and shortchanges the wherewithal and the work ethic and just the process Kevin O'Connell and his staff put in. And I wouldn't do that because Kevin is cold-blooded. Kevin is a lethal play caller. If you've missed 1, 2, or 3, like Dre Greenlaw last year on Monday Night Football, Dre is the bomb. Dre had some injury problems and had missed some games up to that Monday night game. Go ahead and look back at the early stages of the first quarter. And who has Hawkinson and everybody running across the middle to make Dre Greenlaw run? Just want to see if you can run. Haven't seen you in a little while. Just want to make sure that you can run. Kevin's like that. So I'd be careful if I'm saying somebody doesn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've said this 3 or 4 times on KFAN. So obviously I mean it, and obviously I know people are going to hear it, and obviously I know it's going to get back to Rick. So it's from the heart, it's authentic. If, like, Rick was in his second year as general manager here, and the previous general manager splashed and came out and said, here's what they're going to do, and put a name with it, he'd be beside himself. He'd be infuriated. So I'm just very surprised that happened. But then again, for VikesNow, for me, 9 to noon listeners, those trying to put this puzzle together, that's a big one right there. That's a big one because Rick's smart. Rick's plugged in. No idea how he got it or where he got it, but it absolutely, I have to believe it has truth to it. All right. So then, then the next part of it was like this Charles Davis podcast for 33rd Team or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
And then he's making a suggestion to trade Justin Jefferson, not saying they will, saying maybe they will or they should or whatever. That's fine. We all do that all the time. The previous one, he said they will. Okay. That's big. So I have reason to believe, and have for months, that Drake May was the preference of either certain somebody or certain people in whom I trust, who would know and who I respect.
Okay.
So, I've been on Drake May ever since I caught wind of that. I'm not going to pretend to be Mel Kiper reincarnate. I don't watch college football all 22. No, I just don't. I don't follow college football that closely. So I just go off the right people at the right time and the right things, and it puts me on the trail. Then I do the rest of the work. Well, then all of a sudden, you watch McCarthy and you learn a lot about McCarthy. And I have O'Connell on the radio show a couple of Tuesdays ago, and I asked him about McCarthy, and he's like, not many of them are as comfortable going under center as JJ. Well, that's a big part of it right there. They were about 60-40 shotgun under center. Mahomes is 85-15 shotgun under center. It matters, specifically with the play action, turning your back on a defense like Matt Ryan McCarthy's really good at that. So is Drake May. Josh McCown part matters. They hired him during the combine. It immediately comes out he was with Drake May at that Charlotte high school. Everybody in the world knows that by now. But he also was with Sam Darnold with the Jets, and now Darnold's here. So the Drake May Josh McCown relationship is going to bear fruit one of two ways. He knows everything. Does he like it or does he not like it? And it's never going to go public, but it's one of those. So the long, winding road answer to that, man, is I'm 50-50 on May and McCarthy. I'm riding a vibe on a trade up. And, you know, when Spielman, somebody like Spielman says what he says, that's big with me. And I don't know why he did. I don't know if there's an agenda, because Rick doesn't care enough about the media to be a splashy guy and, you know, and build off that. So there's a reason. I don't know the reason, but he said it and I believe it.
Is the choice kind of fan driven, binary between May and McCarthy, or could you see Penix at 11 and 23? That way they wouldn't have to trade anything.
Good question. Yeah, that's a great question. Here's why. Because that's why you can't say what other choice do they have.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, in 2020, right in front of the pandemic, I'm at the combine and everything's about ready to shut down within 2 weeks or whatever. But all we heard was how deep and great the wide receiver draft was. Being an old schooler, yet not get off my lawn kind of old guy. Like I said, I need to see a season and a half or 2 seasons before I can say something's the best. Okay, well, whomever started that opinion, we got JJ. KJ Osborne's from that draft. He can show more maybe in New England, all the way to Darnell Mooney and Gabe Davis. All right, it was awesome. What a wide receiver draft.
Mm-hmm.
Heard a lot of the same stuff last year about the tight ends. Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and check it out. Whoa, Musgrave's down. This Tucker Kraft is good. Ben Sims, Packers' third tight end, was with the Vikings all offseason. Wonderful Christian. Got to know him really, really well. Beautiful human being. And he's gone. He's with Green Bay, active almost every game. From that draft, you got the Kincaid cat and just a Laporta, the bomb. Best tight end season in the history of the NFL for a rookie. So, deepest tight ends draft ever, maybe? Yeah, probably right. I've been hearing about how deep and how rich and how great this quarterback's draft is, like you guys have, for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, now they're here. I had one coach at the combine tell me about Caleb Williams, and this coach is not in a need to draft a quarterback super high. You know, how do you put it? He'll be top 15 the minute he steps on the field. And after 3 years, the best in the game will be looking in their rearview mirror to find him because he's going to be coming at him. Well, now there are a lot of different things with Caleb, with personality and all that, but skill set wise. So therefore, it's when I hear, as much as I've heard from the right people for as long as I and we have heard how deep this is, Williams, May, Daniels, McCarthy, Penix, Nix, maybe Rattler, the Tulane guy whose name I always forget.
Michael Pratt.
The Milton bit who throws the ball to the moon. You know, there are going to be more than a handful who get second contracts as starters or key backups. Like Nick Mullins is a key backup. Okay. And, you know, it's not bad making that income, being part of the covenant, getting into the pension, and doing it for 10, 12 years and, you know, starting 50 games. There are going to be more than a handful of them, which means there are 2 or 3, maybe 1 or 2 on Saturday, draft-wise, that we don't see now.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't like what choice do you have with Penix at 11. Can't see it. I can't see it because if the steam it percolates to the way that we all believe it, raise your hand if just off your gut feeling, the discernment God gave you, you believe the Vikings will attempt to trade up for a quarterback.
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Well, it's and I don't
People
know
at
if
home are
Rickson
raising their hands.
Rickson or O'Connell, or I don't know if anybody's told you guys, but I don't even ask them. So we're all riding the same vibe here. Voice of the Vikings, VikesNow, everybody, we're riding the same vibe. Doesn't mean it's going to happen because two have to tango. But if you believe that is the A topic, then if the A topic doesn't work, well, then now all of a sudden we have to look at the draft like it's just a regular every year draft. All right. So the beef eater from Texas, what's he doing? This corner from Toledo, what's he doing? Oh, wow, can't believe the second LSU wide receiver's here. So you got to start looking at it like that. But that's all if predicated on trying to move up with what I believe would be the Chargers, the Cardinals, or the Patriots, and it doesn't work. So that's the answer.
All right. Well, we'll take it. It kind of does it feel like, when we mentioned Thor Nystrom, he talks about this being draft Christmas. Do you have that same Christmas Eve feel like the rest of us do? Like, just utmost suspense?
This year I do.
Okay.
And I don't a lot of years, and it's not because other things in my life, are so overwhelming that this no longer matters as much as it does. It matters as much, but in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I said with 2022, this O'Connell bit, I mean, it's like it's a privilege to call Vikings football. Okay. I mean, it's an honor to serve those who take time to turn on their radio. I almost went old man and did that. To turn on their radio and listen to me and listen to Pete, listen to Ben. Now the game's the A topic. We got to describe it, but they're taking time to be part of my life. Mm-hmm. So the least I can do is recognize I serve people who choose to listen to me more so than what can I get out of this game? NFL Films presents Paul Allen, all that kind of stuff. Those are byproducts of it.
Okay.
So with that said, I just adore Kevin O'Connell so much, man. I just know he is right. I just know he's right to lead this team to a Super Bowl because I've watched him work with players through conflict, and this is not an age with those who are your guys' age. Okay. And I'm not rip generation guy. I'm not that guy. I mean, people get into what Gen X or the millennials or whatever. And I'm like, all right, bro, you're on Twitter 5 hours a day. And that's the generation that created it. So how far do we want to go with that? It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And it's envious and it's bitter and all that. So, but your generation, you need to treat each generation and era differently. And that includes mine when I was in high school and in the 70s and stuff. Okay. So O'Connell, like Bill Parcells, with all due respect, Bill Parcells, Frank Kush, Woody Hayes, maybe Bill Belichick. That belief ain't working anymore, man.
Yeah.
It ain't working. And I don't know if it was the pandemic that pulled whatever out of whomever. You got to treat these kids and you got to treat these players a different way. And you got to build them up a different way. Kevin is elite at that.
I was going to say really fast, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but on the NFL Plus subscription, I live in Southern California, and if we don't get the rights to stream games, we get the radio broadcast. So 9 times out of 10, I'm listening to you all the way out here in Southern California. So when you say that you're the voice of the Vikings, you really are.
Now we're online. Not being weird, you're a young lady, so I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to answer, cool. But see, I spent 15 years in Southern California. I went to Pasadena City College for 5 years. I wrote for the Pasadena Star News, San Gabriel Valley Tribune, USA Today. So, what I'm saying is, if you don't want to say where you're from or whatever, I understand. But do you know those areas that I mentioned?
Yes, I do. I'm currently in Simi Valley, California. This is where my father and I were both actually born and raised. My parents currently live in the Twin Cities, but I'm 26 years old. I've been a Vikings fan for 26 years, so.
I was just back there. I took my son, who's 23. We went back to a couple of Wolves games, and stayed at the Timberwolves Hotel, which was super cool and swanky. 4 seasons in Beverly Hills. And I did a couple of radio shows from it, it was right at the time Cousins left. It was like that day. So I'm going to have a 3-day vacation with Smiley, go to Venice Beach, stuff like that, see my brother. And then Cousins gets the 100 million thing. And now all of a sudden I'm working from a boardroom at 6:45 in the morning. Yeah. So we changed it. And because it was very important for the station and for the listener at that time of the year. But, I live there, so I know the 405 traffic. I know the 210 traffic. I worked at Santa Anita, Hollywood Park, where SoFi is now, Del Mar, and stuff like that for years. But, I don't know what's happened to the traffic there since I left. It's the inner city, like Fairfax and,
Yeah.
all of those to get into like where crypto.com is, it is absolutely the most deplorable, worst I've ever seen in my life.
We got time for one more from Dakota Kep. What do you got for Paul Allen to wind him down for the afternoon on VikesNow?
Yeah, so I really just kind of wanted to touch on like you specifically as a person. So you've talked about a lot how you sort of started this journey, kind of going on a vagabond like journey from like 5 years doing a bunch of different stuff to where you are now. And sort of somebody, so I went to college to become an actor and sort of fell into this sports thing. And I think I speak for, not just me, but for the entire Vikes now and all of the little guys, like you like to say. Um, where do you get your passion from? Because there have been so many games, like specifically the Raiders game, where you keep up that passion, you keep up that emotion, that energy.
Wow.
I've listened to Dodger games where the games are so boring that they start talking about Tupperware, but I could listen to you like announce a snail race. So I wanted to know like what feeds that passion and that energy that you have for this team.
You're very kind. You're very sweet. And the 3-0 game in Las Vegas was the snail's race. I also learned the term hospital ball. I'm not going to say who said it to me, but I'm talking to somebody about Jefferson, and somebody described the pass Dobbs threw as a hospital ball. Well, I've stolen it 15 times, 9 to noon. It's a brilliant line. But where the passion comes from is of God. I am a Christian. My whole life outside of this is the Bible. I sin every single day. I'm not trying to be superstar Christian guy, but learning the Bible, speaking to churches, and just recognizing truly how much God loves us, as the Bible teaches. That I'm not going to be like that fuels me in Minneapolis Miracle moments or during snail races, but that's my whole life. And I give thanks to God for the energy and the passion that He has given me. Okay, so with that said, it's not an out of body experience or anything. It's just a recognition of how blessed I am to do this job and these jobs, including, and they're racing at Canterbury Park. Josh is closing on the outside. Here comes Dakota sneaking through on the inside, and Dustin Baker has been left in the wake of a keen turn of speed. Okay, it's just being able to get there if I'm having personal problems, if I'm having problems within the booth because it ain't flowing the right way or something, whatever, is I'm just the importance of pushing through that. I learned years ago. I just, God has wired me in a way to push through it and to recognize the complexity or the passion of the moment and go with it. I mean, I didn't go to college. I auditioned for all these jobs, including KFAN, first radio job, racetrack announcing, first play-by-play job at any levels in the NFL. Come on. So I'm not here to bang Bibles on heads and be like, repent or perish and believe in God right now. That's between you and God. But look at my path and the jobs I have, how long I've held them, and what's coming out of it now. From a Christianity standpoint, that's my life. That's the only way to answer the question. And it's yeah, it's very, very kind that you asked me that question, because there was a time in my mid 30s, about 100 grand in debt, tapping on my parents all the time for money, traveling around the country, and it was tough. It just was tough. I don't have any regrets. I'm not dwell guy, because that's what that part of the life of my life was planned as God planned my life, and we push through. So now it's just a recognition through prayer before the game of just how important my game calls and the games on the radio are to Dakota and other people. They're important to you, man. They're important to you. And people may be like, well, that's important to you. Okay, well, it's important to a lot of people. I know that. So I inherently, I have to give my best. I have to give my best, and I will. And it doesn't always work out, and I'll push through that if it doesn't. But I owe it to all of you who take time to listen. And speaking of Los Angeles, going to high school and junior college there, I was the kid who laid in bed and listened to Chick Hearn call LA Lakers games on 570 KLAC, and Vin Scully called Dodgers games on 790 KABC every single night. And those are two of the best in the history of play-by-play. And I'm a limb on the chickern tree. I am, because that's what I wanted to be. I never knew that it would come, I would get it the way I did, but I did. So I'm God rest his soul. I might as well make him proud by doing it in a way that he taught me, even though he was teaching me.
Paul, I want to thank you for joining the show. On a personal note, when I got my driver's license in 2000, and that is when I started listening to PA and Duvet every morning. And so on my way to school, then subsequently on my way to University of Minnesota. So this was a real cool show for me. I appreciate the time you devoted to us. I am going to hit you up after the draft and see if you'll go through some of these takes after it all turns out.
Yeah, 100%, man. And you guys are fantastic. So I followed your site. Probably not as closely as like I would have, had we not met before. But ever since, Dustin started contacting me and stuff, and you guys did that wonderful, wonderful podcast with Ben. And Ben's fantastic, super, super smart, just very
definitely.
I just kind of started looking at what you guys do and everything, man. And you guys are A+. You guys do a really good job. You put in the work. Your opinions, you may not have the cachet of some others with Twitter followers or perceived respect in social media or stuff like that, because you're young and you're 2 years old, like you said. But there are ways to do it and ways not to do it. And I'm impressed with what you guys do. So I'm here to help you with retweets and podcasts and professional advice on the side if you ever need it. God bless you guys, man, for being so kind and asking awesome questions and just having me on. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you again, and we will hit you up probably about a month from now. Okay.
Oh well, who do you just quickly? Just who do you guys think the Vikings will take with their first pick? Ladies first, Dakota first.
I'm on the JJ McCarthy hype train. I am. I'm fully in it.
Josh.
I keep on going back and forth between Drake May and JJ McCarthy. I do think it's going to end up being McCarthy, just because in order to get May, I feel like they're going to have to get up to number 3. And I'm just not quite sure that they're going to be willing to part with as much draft capital as it's going to take to get up to that spot to take May. So McCarthy's probably where I'm leaning as well.
I am with McCarthy because I think they have a once in a lifetime opportunity to dangle their nuts for once, and I think that will involve Drake May. I don't think it'll be the 4 first rounders that Spielman's talking about, but yeah, I think it'll cost 3. I think we'll all do that at our TV screen, which you're doing, and yeah, I think it'll be Drake May, mainly because of the Josh McCown connection and kind of the roadmap that you put out there.
Dakota's glasses fogged.
Oh my God. I was not expecting that.
And I was.
Yeah.
Like, I know, right? He's JJ. What if it's JJ to JJ?
JJ to JJ.
JJ to JJ.
That'd be sweet. McCown, Charlotte High School. Keep that in mind. And God bless all of you guys. All right.
Yep. We'll see you next time. Thanks, PA. Later.